Hello, hello. Welcome. How are you today? Hello. For those of you who are there, welcome. I am Ella Morello, and today we are gonna keep going talking about our chakras. We're talking about things related to each chakra. Today is the last chakra, right? So we're gonna talk just about a couple of themes. And for you, all of you who are in the portal of self transformation, do not forget to go deeper. Okay, here we are talking openly about the things related to that. But right after all these videos that we are doing live and open lives, under you have the whole journey with exercises and so on for you to really go deeper into each one of the chakras. Also, under the meditation module, you have meditations for each specific chakra. Okay, so let's do this. Today we are, okay, so let me start how I started all the other lives. So if you have not yet seen the talk about the other chakras, I invite you to go there and start for the on the first one. The reason why is there, I explained it a little bit how this energy moves in our body, what chakras are, and so on. Okay, so if you remember this, if not, I'm just going to talk briefly here that the energy on our chakras, which are centers of energy within our body, by the way, we already know there are other chakras, upper and lower chakras, but we are here just focusing on the seven uh, major chakras. So the energy can move up or down. Whenever it's going up, we are working towards freedom. Whenever it's going down, we are working towards manifestation. And what happens also is this from the inside out and outside in. So today we have reached the last chakra, which is our crown chakra, the seventh chakra, that talks about consciousness, that talks about freedom, our ultimate freedom. So this chakra looks like this. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay. So the identity of this chakra is universal identity. The orientation of this chakra is self knowledge. The demons of this chakra are attachments and ignorance. And the right of this chakra is the right to know. So if you have been watching the videos, you also know that we have talked here that our goal is for us to balance these chakras, right? So we might have deficient energy or excessive energy. Also, I'm going to tell you a couple of characteristics for you to see if your seventh chakra is with excessive or deficient energy. But also, it's normal and it's completely fine if you see yourself sometimes a little bit with excessive energy and a little bit with deficient energy. So then I invite you to understand how this chakra in its balanced state works, because then you have a focal point where to go to work towards that. Okay, so for us to start, the excessive characteristics of this chakra are dissociation from the body. If you have too much energy in your crown chakra, you will feel disassociation from your body. Is spiritual addiction, confusion, over intellectualization, living in your head. When we have deficient characteristics on the seventh chakra, we might experience spiritual cynicism, a closed mind, learning difficulties, rigid belief system, apathy. And when we have this chakra in balance, we are going to experience spiritual connection, wisdom and mastery, intelligence and presence, open mindedness, ability to question, and ability to assimilate and analyze information. So let's start from the beginning so we can talk about a couple of things. And if you actually want for me to go to a different theme that I'm going to talk here related to this chakra, please just write down, okay? And we go from there. So, uh, we have talked already that we have the three chakras that are the first, the second, and the third chakra. They are called the inferior chakras. By the way, remembering that inferior and superior has nothing to do with being better than the other. Okay, so we have our three inferior chakras. Then we have our heart chakra that actually is this bridge that connects the inferior chakras and the superior chakras. And now we have reached the ultimate, the last superior chakra. So this chakra is about our, as we already talked here, it's about our connection, the unity, intelligence, but mainly it talks about our consciousness. And this is so interesting because what is our consciousness? You know, so a couple of things that I want to share with you is as you remove the blocks and distractions from your consciousness through healing wounds, focusing the mind in meditation, the field around you will actually start changing. You need your consciousness in order to actually work on all your chakras. So if you accompany my work, you kind of know a little bit of what we are talking here. But I want to say that I think this chakra has everything to do with our how do we see ourselves? What do we believe? You can call it God, higher intelligence, you can call it uh, energy, whatever you call it. Okay? Um, the idea, the question for you here, the main question you have to ask yourself here is who am I? And I want you to be aware of what are the first answers that come to your mind. Maybe the first answers that are coming is my name is this, I am a mother, I am a daughter, I am a lawyer, I am a this is not who you are. These are things you identify with. If you have watched the when we talked about the sixth chakra, we talked a little bit about our ego and how our mind works, how our mind labels, and how our mind separates things, and why this happened as well. So, not to keep repeating myself here, I want to invite you to see yourself as a spiritual being. That's who you are. The spiritual being living and experiencing life through this vehicle, through this body. Okay? As we have said already, right? So, whenever we realized and we ask these questions to ourselves, who are we beyond our attachments, beyond the roles of society that we are playing, beyond our goals, beyond our bank account? Then a whole we start experiencing consciousness in reality because your consciousness is actually who you are. Your consciousness is limitlessness. If you don't feel you have, if you don't feel yourself limitless, you're probably operating from your ego, from your mind, from who do you believe you are, and not from who you actually are. That's why I told you that the orientation of this chakra is self knowledge, because one needs to go and dive deeper within oneself in order to be able to understand that we have no idea truly who we are, what we are doing here, where did we come from, where are we going? Are we evolving? Why? I came in this body. I came part of this family. I am from that country. Well, whenever you open this channel, you start seeing life from a place where you don't have rigid beliefs. And I understand that this is something we have to work and walk backwards, actually. Because throughout your life, since you were a baby, you were learning, you were wired to, you were learning. So when you were a baby, you were this soul, this spirit, or whatever you want to call it, without any answer. You are simply fully present. Look at the eyes of a child. It sparkles because it's realizing everything for the first time, sensations, understandings. However, what happens is, as you are growing, you understand because of society, your parents, and so on. This is right, this is wrong. And this is part of our third dimension reality that segregates. This crown chakra talks about unity. This is who we are. And why this reality segregates? Well, we already talked about it, right? So this is part of our nature because whenever we are reaching the lower chakras, whenever we are in this dimension, we are exploring. We have more density. Okay, so for us to perceive light, we have to experience dark. For us to experience hot, we have to experience cold. So this is about what happens to us naturally. So this is the segregation. This is where all the labelings come from. And if you remember about the ego that we talked, your ego, the unhealthy ego, it's not against you truly. But if you are not practicing self-knowledge, probably you feel there are parts of you that are against you. Why? Your ego is trying to keep you alive. And your ego identify with things. And that's why the demon of this chakra is attachment. One of the demons is attachment. So your ego, what it does is, imagine, as I told you already before, a wall around you. Your ego is protecting you. So you believe in certain things, or who you are, your status, the social roles, or you believe your absolute truths. And somehow your ego is the one who believes that these characteristics are who you are. Your consciousness, on the other hand, which is our seventh chakra, knows that you are one, that you are limitless, that you are infinity, that you are always in movement. Your consciousness does not identify with nothing here. So that's why it's important for us to work and go deeper in our ego and understand how it operates in order for us to take the ego from the driver's seat of our life, put our consciousness in the driver's seat, and our ego, we keep them right here in our side, because our ego will organize our life, will help us manifesting in this plane, will keep us safe, and all of that. However, if it's driving our life, we're going to start experiencing a lot of disbalances. Why? Because you truly believe that if that thing happens to you, you're gonna die, or of a pain, or literally you're gonna die, or you know what people are gonna think about you if you are fired. Do you see how the ego, is in front a lot of times, obviously it may be in a couple of areas of our life and others not, but is separating from our consciousness. So the invitation of this chakra is for us to start exploring our true self. You might have had experience already a couple of moments in your life. However, um, how am I going to tell you this? The reality is, as more as you let go of attachments, which are the demons of this chakra, more you're going to start operating from your consciousness. Okay, Ella, beautiful. How do we do that? I invite you to do a simple exercise because this really is something that helped me out. So it might help you as well, which is whenever you are observing a person that is not yourself, don't you feel some kind of separation? So, whatever it is, the person is telling you something about her life, or you're simply observing someone, you have this feeling of watching that person from another point of view, right? So you might, whatever you perceive about that person, as we know, talks much more about you and your experiences and your values and so on than truly about that person. But the point that I want to make here is whenever we observe someone or we are giving a advice to someone, it's much easier for us to give this a step back and look the other person as another person because you feel this separation. Whenever we are literally living from our consciousness, we understand the unity. We're gonna get there. But anyway, so whenever we see the person, is easier for us. My invitation is for you to do with yourself exactly the same thing you do with other people. How do you do that? Well, many different ways, but I'm gonna suggest, for example, whenever you are meditating, and you can tell me, oh no, I cannot meditate. Well, it's not true that you cannot meditate. Again, let's tell the truth to ourselves. So you don't want to meditate. So the question that you want to ask yourself is, why don't I want to meditate? Or, why don't I want that? Because you are capable of doing and achieving and living whatever your mind is able, or your consciousness, better said, is able to conceive. So if you think you cannot, let me tell you something. You do not want to. So the right question you want to ask yourself is, why don't I want that? And your rational mind is going to be saying, of course you want. That's the most thing that you want in life. So you see how self-knowledge is important, is about this seventh chakra. Why? Because we have to really start learning about ourselves in order to be able to answer that question. Let me give you one example. A lot of people, I want to be in a relationship. So truly, you want to be in a relationship. Your mind, like you are aware you want to be in a relationship. However, somehow you don't believe, or you just meet people that has nothing to do with you, or you don't believe you are able to tolerate people, whatever it is. And you tell yourself, I'm not able to be in any relationship. People take me out of my mind. I'm never in peace when I'm in a relationship, but I really want that. The question you have to ask yourself is, and then I don't know, maybe you do something, you're like, oh, I'm self-sabotaging myself, because we already talked here that self-sabotage does not exist, right? So the invitation is, ask yourself, why, from your consciousness, why don't I want to be in a relationship? Now, since I started this example, I wanna keep going on this. And I need you to pay attention in this sentence for you to go and dive deeper with me on this, which is, a lot of times the reason why you cannot do something that your mind wants to do, and it can be a relationship, a career, anything, making money, there is an attachment. And remember, attachment is related to our ego, because the ego believes we are whatever people can see, whatever we can see. I live in this house, I'm successful. I live in there, I'm not successful. Do you see? So this is an attachment belief, right? We identify with that. So whenever we release attachment, okay, that leaves us free to commit more fully with whatever it is. As our commitment will be based on our intention and not in the result. Bear with me. Let's keep going with our relationship situation. So for example, if you commit to a relationship from your consciousness, whenever you have a problem inside the relationship, your action is not going to be to defend yourself. This comes from your ego. Your action is not going to be to run away or to fight. You're actually, if you're having problems in the relationship and your decision comes from your consciousness, actually you're going to be able to hold a larger container for for something to transform in this relationship, because you're not attached to whatever you believe you have to defend yourself. You're not attached to your way of doing things. You're not attached to, listen, I love this way. This is how people should love, and you are not loving me in the way I want to love. I want to be loved. Do you see how many attachments we have? So when we are able to transpose the ego, to transpose the attachment in any area of our life, then we start living from consciousness. And consciousness, as we are talking here, is limitless. Conscious does not identify because it knows it is one, it is everything that exists. Ella, beautiful. How do we do that? Again, remember, I just told you, the orientation is self-knowledge. You need a lot of self-knowledge to be able to tell the truth to yourself. And also, one thing that I tell us here 1,000 times, be gentle to yourself. This life that we're living right now, that everything has to be immediate. As the less you talk, the more information you bring in 3 seconds. This is what matters. So meaning we are living such in a fast-paced society that we keep being only in the surface of things. If you start your path of self-knowledge and self-development, trying to simply fix your life or that struggle or that issue right now, let me tell you something. You are not really doing any path. You're trying to avoid a pain. And this does not come from your consciousness. This comes simply from you trying to avoid pain. This work that we do here is a lifelong work. And that each day we give one little step. Each day we ask for help or we do our practices and things start getting clear. Because what is happening? Remember that I told you the 7th chakra is the crown chakra, the ultimate freedom. We are simply releasing all the attachments, all the ignorance that are in front of our consciousness. That's who we really are. So I was telling you, for example, when you are meditating, okay, I invite you to stop fighting. Don't fight with your thoughts. When they come, you are a human being. You think, your thoughts will come. But instead of that, let's do something. You're going to keep breathing, right? And you notice that thought. Whenever you notice that thought, you're going to see that thought pass as a cloud. Just like I told you about people that you can observe. If you sit on a coffee, you can observe that person passing by. or someone is telling you something, you are not attached to that. That's the invitation. Whatever thought comes, you're not going to fight like, I cannot have thoughts. I can't believe I'm having thoughts. And then go back. Oh, you have to buy the supermarket, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, but you have to say to the other person, blah, blah, blah. Instead of you judging, repressing, fighting with yourself, I invite you to, whenever you catch your thought in your meditation, okay, see the thought, let it speak what it says, and let it go. Just observe. Go back to paying attention to your breathing if you're doing a guided meditation and so on. That's one way also we can start understanding and truly feeling that we, our ego, who we think we are, who our mind thinks we are, which is this voice that keeps talking, is not who we are. Because if you're able to observe that thought, who is observing the thought? That's your consciousness. So your consciousness is the observer. So try to actually do this exercise. And whenever you see yourself, when you are not identified with that, or you had an argument with someone, whenever your mind is telling you, you're right, that person could not have done that, and blah, 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 and you catch yourself there, take a step back, one step back, and observe what your mind is telling you, how right you are from this observer point of view. And not like, yes, I'm right. No, from this observer. That's your consciousness. This attachments, you can let it go. This is literally is something that is so simple. However, it requires so much work because we're so used to operating from our attachments, from our ignorance. So right now, I wanted to talk a little bit about let me finish about attachments because I went in a lot of places. So I want to invite you to examine your attachments. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a couple of suggestions, and you will try to see, what do you believe you're attached to. By the way, whenever I was thinking and before I was preparing myself for this life, I remember that a friend of mine one day, she's a photographer. She's a really great friend of mine. And she came to me and she said, Ella, I have a problem. And I'm like, what is your problem? And she said, I'm doing a work where I am photographing the attachments of people. However, obviously, it has to be some kind of material attachments because I'm photographing, right? And she's like, and I was able to identify my grandparents, blah, blah, blah. And she started telling like everyone. And she said, and I really want to photograph you. But I am thinking and thinking and thinking. And I could not figure out anything you are attached. Can you please help me out? Because she knows me for so long. And by the way, I'm sharing this with you. Do not think this has nothing to do with every single human being is different. And anyways, I was talking to a person right before this live. And it was so interesting because we were talking like, oh wow, about attachments and how different human beings are. So anyways, going back to my photographer friend, and I started to think, what am I attached to? Because literally you come to my house, you want to use something that is mine, you can use it. You want to keep it to yourself, you can keep it. I moved for the last 11 years, I have been moving so many places and countries that I leave this stuff because I love much more my back than anything. So I'm leaving things, I'm giving things to people because I don't want too much things for me to carry. And I was like, you know what, amiga, my friend, I think I am attached on not having attachments. And she's like, holy crap. Yes, this is insane. So what I want to tell you is attachments is not only related to material things. A lot of people will identify with being attached to their clothes, to their house, to whatever. But there are other attachments that are emotional attachments. Okay, so for example, let me give you a couple of examples here. Examine your attachments regarding people. Are you attached to people, to someone in a specific, because that person represents something in your life? Places, possessions, money. Are you attached about looking good? Are you attached uh, about looking good in the eyes of others? Meaning, not just physically, but like, I want that person to believe I am great and I'm superior. All these attachments, by the way, because consciousness is present in all our chakras, and all these attachments, we is going to be, if we don't liberate this for our consciousness to operate, we will start feeling these attachments in different chakras uh, of our body, right? In different energy centers, because that person that believes, that just sees the value, that just perceive, oh, I have a value. When someone praises them, it's going to have a disbalance and a block in the third chakra. But again, attachments, right? We talk here about attachments. So I'm talking about any kind of attachment. So figure out which ones do you believe for you are the most, right? Attachment for pleasure, attachment with power. This is a big one. Attachment of being right. I have that attachment a lot of times whenever I'm operating from my ego and not from my consciousness. Attachment to freedom. That's the attachment I was talking about to you, that I can realize on myself. However, freedom just comes with responsibility. There is no freedom without responsibility. Anyway, it's not the talk of today. Attachment to success, attachment to spiritual practices. You know, the other day I was learning with someone that I really admire, and she brought something up that I was like, whoa. She's like, do not, to use the word in Portuguese, I don't know how to say in English, but like, do not, it's not take for granted, but do not banalize. I don't know if that's the correct word, okay? Your spiritual practice. If we are attached to our spiritual practice, a lot of times we are like carrying 1,001 crystals, putting 1,001 candles around the house and so on. And we're not really doing the most important thing, which is to feel connected, to actually experience that connection from our consciousness. You already become something that you identify with. Going back to our ego, I identify with being a spiritual. Are you getting where I'm going? Okay, attachments with the past and attachments with the future. Those are also big ones. A lot of people that have attachments with the past believe somehow that, well, I'm going to give you two examples. One is, I cannot let my past be in the past because that's who I am today. Well, no, who you are today is exactly who you are in the present moment. If you keep attached to your past, you're actually escaping the present. You are not in the past. You were not who you were. Right? This is one type of attachment. Other people are attached to the pain of something that happened in the past. And guess what? That happened. And that's not going to change. So always go back to the present. Today, am I experiencing that pain? Today, am I in that situation? No. Let it go. That's our consciousness. The ego says, no, 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 you cannot trust no one. You're going to be robbed. That's an attachment, for example, to the past, which is really different than when you learn a lesson and you don't repeat the lesson. Okay? Attachment to the future. Well, again, attachments can be related to all our chakras. If you are afraid of not having money, first chakra, and so on. But whoever is living in the future is anxious. And a lot of the times you start getting so much problems because guess what? First of all, the future is not here. So you have no way of solving the problems that you created in your head that might happen in the future. And you get anxious again, getting away from your present moment. Okay, so this is a little bit first to talk about attachments. And another demon of this chakra is ignorance. And here, uh, I want to invite you to ask yourself, do you feel you are ignorant? Well, if you're answering that from your ego, that's what we are talking here, you're probably going to say, no, I'm not ignorant. Or maybe you're going to say, yes, I'm ignorant in a couple of things, right? Because no one knows everything. Or, however, if you are answering this question, are you ignorant, from your consciousness, your answer is going to be absolutely yes. And why? Whenever we have rigid beliefs, right? So here you go, deficient characteristics on this chakra. Rigid beliefs, closed mind, spiritual cynicism. Whenever you have your absolute truths, and by the way, it doesn't have to do just only with your truths about religion, about God, about life. It can be any absolute truth. Because my way is the right way to do. This isn't an absolute truth. Because I know that this is this way. This is an absolute truth. This is you separating. This is you negating the crown chakra that says what? Unity. This is you negating the manifestation of life in all its forms. Because there is not one human being that have the same internal material than you. Meaning, how is it possible that you believe that there is one answer to anything? Everybody's going to experience that differently. And crazy enough, we are all needed and we are all one. So, whenever you answer from consciousness, yes, I'm absolutely ignorant, it's because as more as you learn, but not learn only with your mind, that things that we learn, in book or in experiences of life, whenever you're learning simply in books and you have rigid beliefs and you're uh, learning with experiences and you're not transposing the ego to arrive in the consciousness, you're going to have 1,000 absolute truths. Whenever you are actually experience life from your consciousness, you're going to be, whoa, as more as I know, the less I know. Well, we as humans believed that the world was flat until someone came and said, you know what? The world is round and I'm going to prove it. We believed that, so everything in history, we believed something until someone came and said, wait a second, it's not like that. What is the science telling us today? Well, listen, we know we can prove that people share instant. So Albert Einstein died saying that nothing travels faster than light. Now, we know that actually there is immediate effect that it's immediate. So it travels faster than light. And this is an energy, meaning whatever I'm feeling here, someone can feel instantly if we are, anyways, correlated. Okay, I'm not going to the quantum physics. If you are into that in the portal, go to the quantum physics class. I explain this in depth, the experiment and so on. But the point of this is science know this happened. They know it's not an electromagnetic energy and not radio energy, don't remember, another type of energy. They don't know how the hell that happens, but they know it happens. So that's when our conscious come and say, oh, wow, as more as I learn, the less that I know. Remembering, we produce knowledge with 1% of what exists, of 1% matter of what exists. So literally 99% of our existence is a question mark for scientists. I'm not telling you the opposite. It's like we know, we produce knowledge, the knowledge that we have access with 1%. So for me, it's much more smart to know that we have no idea what's going on. And what is the problem when we are so attached to our ego? Again, obviously, we're blocking our consciousness. So we believe that the things have to go this way, that the things have to be this way. What is, I like looking at this like it's me looking at my belly button. And then all my problems, all my pains, all my frustrations, they become my word because I'm looking at my belly button with my absolute truths. Whenever I'm able to actually be living from my consciousness, it's like the feeling is like when you travel and you're looking from the plane and you look down and you're like, oh, whoa, the city looks like this. Can you imagine? Like you look like that, you're like, oh, really? My problem is like this. So at the same time, that's understanding unity. At the same time, you know you are irreplaceable and you are absolutely, you're needed and important in this earth. That's why you are here. At the same time, who truly are you? Who truly? Look, we are in a little galaxy. We are a little planet in a small galaxy. I mean, really? Are our problems, our pains that big? Who are we beyond our attachments? That's the seventh chakra, the consciousness. Okay, so I guess I think I went to a lot of, okay, just one more. It's really interesting for me whenever people, what do I mean by spiritual cynicism? Let me talk a little, really briefly here about religion, but this has to do with ignorance, okay? Which is how come people believe, and this is a deficient energy of this chakra. You can believe in God or whatever you believe. Let's say you believe in God. And let's say you have a religion, okay? How come can you exclude someone that has a different belief than you? Right? Because you can believe in whatever you want, but the other can also believe. And even though you believe you are right, great, follow that. That makes sense to your soul, follow that. But do you see how do we close this connection? Because then we start attachment. I am attached to that idea, so everybody has to agree with me. Then we go to ignorance. Truly? Did something go proven to you? Please share with the whole world. Or it's just or whenever you are practicing that religion, you experience something that most of the time you cannot explain. Because if that's the case, other people, can you agree that other people might experience that with in a different path? So this is a little bit of characteristics of what is blocking this chakra of ours. And just to share with you here something that for me is really interesting because I have all the most of the excessive characteristics on this chakra, also looking for the balance. And this over intellectualization that I talked in the beginning about the excessive characteristics, uh, it might sound paradoxical, right? Because you're thinking, okay, the seventh chakra is about consciousness. So you're saying the consciousness has nothing to do with the mind. Over intellectualization is also when you like detach yourself from the body. This is something I am working on balancing my seventh chakra here because I absolutely feel disconnected on my physical body. And guess what? I am young and my body is feeling that I'm not connected to it. And it's like, hello, are you looking at me? No, okay, let me start now doing some crazy things for you to start paying attention. So also, always remember there is nothing that is, as I said about the chakras, superior or inferior. It has different human beings who came here to learn something different, and some of us are going to have excessive characteristics in one chakra and deficient in others. And we all are looking for the balance, which my balance is different than yours because I'm going to work in something, you're going to work in something else. So don't ever, if you are feeling superior or inferior than someone, remember that this is your ego. This is you identifying. Which, just remember, this chakra is about consciousness. We need to work on that in one way or the other in order to be able to truly work um, in our other chakras with consciousness. That's how truly we're going to find that balance. So, next Tuesday, I'm going to have a chakra balancing meditation. So I invite you to be here with me. We're going to go chakra by chakra, and it's going to be simply a meditation. Okay, so I hope I will see you live on Tuesday, and have a great weekend. If you have any comments and so on, just share them. Okay, we are here learning all the time with each other. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.